Today I am going to talk on the topic implementation of blended learning, teaching pedagogies. Okay, introduction you have already given. Let me start with the topic. Here I am discussing some model of learning which are being used by the teachers and the students while imparting the education. First of all, let me talk about the classroom learning. Classroom learning consists of traditional teaching, face-to-face learning, teacher-student communication, and we have larger group, smaller group, both way as the time and the infrastructure permit us. These are some snapshot which show that we can sit in an auditorium, we can be in a class, we can have face-to-face assignment taking for the students and all. That is our that are all are part of our classroom teaching. Next we are having with us is e-learning model, which is nothing but learning through e-resources, electronic resources, that means computer technology. Here we are having online tutorials, simulations, we have some games which are teaching us various skills. We have online testing system, we have audience response system, we have digital learning environment where we can impart our education from remote location, and all the people who are connected to these devices can get the information and the knowledge. Here the important point to be noted is there we are needed with the online presence. We may not be sitting in a classroom, we can be at the ease of our home or office or any other comfortable place, and we can be the part of the teaching learning process. These are few examples. We can work on presentations, we can have game, we can have simulations, we can have online tutorials which we can record pre-recorded, and they can be played later on as per the pace of the learner. Then nowadays the paradigm has shifted after the pandemic. People are using the mobile learning system a lot. They are learning through the mobile devices, that includes laptops, smartphones, ipad, etc. Here the focus has been shifted for the communication, that may be synchronous or asynchronous. Synchronous means the same time whenever the teacher is teaching, the student is learning, and asynchronous means the everything which we want to give education or the knowledge to the learner, that can be pre-recorded and shared as per the convenience of the learner. And this asynchronous mode can be can focus on the learning which is at the pace of the learner, while in case of synchronous we have the discussion kind of thing. Whenever I'm talking about synchronous, that means the teacher or the person who is imparting the knowledge is sitting simultaneously at the same time where the learner is logged in on the system. This include the various things as I mentioned earlier: laptops, smartphones, iPads, everything. They can be used for kind of mobile learning. Now the focus has been shifted. We are not bounded with either the classroom teaching or e-learning or mobile learning. Now the paradigm shift is that is also the one of the feature of our new education policy 2020, where we are focusing on the blended learning. Blended learning is nothing but the combination of face-to-face learning, e-learning, and mobile learning. Here the focus is on the delivery formats. It has different form of communication and didactic models that are specially designed as per the need of the learner. That means my learning focus is now learner centric instead of the traditional classroom teaching that is having the fixed format. This particular thing is consisting of blended learning can be focus or can target an individual where that person is sitting at the ease of its home and learning or listening to a pre-recorded lecture. It can be online learning. It can be a kind of online lecture where a group of people are listening to particular thing and they are involved in discussions. It can be in a small group where teacher can make a subgroup to discuss the assignment or a given question or something. It can be a kind of collaborative learning where two persons who are reading the same course or same subject they are studying, they can collaborate and they can share their knowledge to get the more on that particular topic. Now the question arises whether e-learning is better than the face-to-face learning. Definitely we can say yes, it is equally effective in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, in terms of behavior. When I'm talking about knowledge, that means whatever the teacher is teaching in the class can be imparted using the e-learning methodology. The teacher can record its session and share the same knowledge as they are delivering in the class. They can focus on the same skill set which they are focusing in the classroom, and the behavior wise they can uh, tune their delivery speed. They can tune as far as they have learned from their experience that this particular thing need more elaboration. So both are equally effective in terms of e-learning, or when I'm comparing it to the face-to-face or traditional classroom learning kind of thing. But there is one more thing to be noted, that it is more effective when we are using blended learning for explaining purpose and for procedure which we want to explain to the kids. As when I am talking about explanation part in the classroom, either I can write on the blackboard or I can take the example or the help from the book. But in case of blended learning, I can make use of e-infrastructure, that means my mobile or laptop, and that has certain tools which can simulate the thing which I want to explain, and at that particular time the more than one sense, that means they are not only they are not only listening to the what teacher is saying, but they are visualizing the things. So it helps in learning them faster and it can grasp for the longer time. So blended learning is more effective in terms of explaining and to explaining any procedure. Now, there are some advantages of e-learning. Here I am talking about some images or sound. I can put anything using images. I can put the sounds. I can, whatever I want to explain to the students, I can explain by using pictures. I can make the diagrams. I can make the sound. If suppose I am teaching to a small kid, here I am teaching him that dog is barking. I can mimic it. I can mimicry that sound, and I can show. I can include that in my presentation, and child can listen and understand well. There can be a motion. If I'm saying that apple is falling from the tree, then I can show that motion in my presentation to explain it further to the next level. There can be a dynamic simulation, like I am teaching my students a dynamic simulation kind of thing. Suppose I'm saying that you have to cross the road while seeing left or right, and you have to use always the crossroad kind of thing. Now this particular thing cannot be taught in the real time environment. Here I can use that, I can design the situation, I can simulate it, and I can show that if you are not following the traffic rules, the accident may occur. So when I'm talking about e-learning, it is efficient, it has some attributes, there is a content kind of thing which can be delivered as per the user's demand. When I'm talking about focusing or teaching philosophy, I have four major parameters which are there in classroom traditional teaching methods. Now the question arises that how they can be included in blended option. First thing to be noted is behaviorism. There is a behaviorism, that means first we have a content, then we will give some exercise to the student to practice, and then we can have a test which by which we can judge that whether they have understood the concept well or not. This is compromises of drill and practice. While case of exercising, we are drilling them and we are asking them to practice, and after taking the test, it can be surprise or plant test. We are checking whether they have learned the things properly or not. Now, this thing can be simulated in blended learning by taking online training, in which we are giving them the content, and we can have some exercises, and they will be followed by test in which we have some skills and lab exercises as well to give them overall holistic learning experience. Second important point is cognitism, in which student obtain the knowledge from the surrounding. Now, from the surrounding, that means I'm talking about their peer groups or by their understanding understanding by their textbooks, reference books, etc. In blended option, we have multimedia presentation of the content, we have conceptual maps, we have hyperlinks for extra references, we have simulation cases which have some sub cases. Suppose I'm talking about medical case. In this, I have some patient simulation cases. In actual, in real time, I can show them case studies, I can give them reports. But if I want what the effect on the of a particular drug on a particular patient, or how to have a particular procedural, that can be simulated and imparted in the blended option. Third is constructivism, means how student can construct the knowledge. Now, first we want the student not only learn but it construct the new knowledge. That means what it infer should be come out from the student point of view. That particular option can be used you in blended learning by communication. That means we can ask a question and the student get a chance to answer it. He can write the web blogs. He can contribute to the Wikipedia as well to impart its knowledge. Fourth and final thing is connectivitism. That means student create connection and develop a network. Now, how it can be done? When we are talking about classroom teaching, it has its own friends, it has its own group. They can sit in a canteen or in the library and they can discuss the like ideas they wanted to. This connection can be made using internet or groups. In blended option, they can have access to the instant messages, they can have the Wikipedia kind of thing, we in which every student have the chance to communicate, and this all is made possible using internet and e-resources. If I want to summarize everything, I will say blended learning is depending on this, it has no restriction over space, it has no restriction on the communication. Even this learning can be imparted in the traditional language of the learner. Suppose one lecture is being recorded in a particular language, say English or any native language, it can be later on converted by the tools to the language which the intended receiver to listen. And there is no limit on the delivery. The delivery can be similar as it was in the face-to-face delivery mode. There is the whatever philosophy we have learned for the teaching methods, they are very well being covered in blended option as well. Now, this blended learning has several parameters. We can have online learning mechanism, we can have offline. As I said earlier, blended learning is a collection of e-learning, mobile learning, and classroom learning. Here we have all the four philosophy which are being converted: behaviorism, cognitive, constructivism, and connectivism. And space can be live, it can be virtual. Communication can be asynchronous or synchronous. So this diagram is completing everything which we have discussed till now. Now, the main focus is that for this talk is that how to design the blended learning. This is the important question which we need to answer, because what blended learning we can understand very well. Now the question is that how to design the blended learning for a kid, and what things we should keep in our mind while designing the course. So implementation has various points or parameters. First, we have to think about the target groups, that for which group we are implementing the blended learning technique. That means whether we are using we are developing any course for the students or for the residents, general public, or for specialists, for PhD student, and the list goes on. It can be for anything. It can be for a specific target group, it can be for a large people, it can be for anything. But before designing the material, we must focus that for which we want to implement a particular learning course. Now, the second question comes in the mind, that what are the learning goal of this module? By learning goal of the modules means that when I am talking about this, I must ask four questions which are given by the Miller pyramid. They are focusing on the knowledge, that what the person should know and what knows how, means for learning that how it is pursuing. Next, what skill set it is going to be used. Show how and what it does. Means our focus is on knows how, shows how, and does. These four parameters are to be considered as a learning goal of the module. Means the person should know after completing this module how it is going to know this thing, and what skill after completing this module, and how we are doing that. So these four questions are very important while implementing any blended learning module. Third important question is, what is the content of the blended learning? What is the content of blending learning? Means what are the topics we are going to include? What is the theme of the module? What are the skill set we are assuming that my participants should know in before, and what they will get after the completion of the module? And that list goes on according to various parameters, but these are few things which I want to discuss with you. Now, when we are talking about we are done with that, we have finalized the target group, we have finalized the learning goal of the module, we have finalized the content, that what to be included in the blended learning. Now, the question is that what knowledge or skill needed, that I am talking about certain basic things. Suppose I am teaching a student mathematics, and I am telling him that now in this module I am teaching you how to multiply the things. So there is a prerequisite that he must know the numbers. If he doesn't know the numbers, he cannot understand how the multiplication goes ahead. Or suppose I'm talking about that you have to do some complex mathematical problem, so simple basic should be known by the learner. So the first thing is knowledge, basic sciences or basic skills, what is required to learn that particular course. And it can be not only in the terms of basic. Suppose I'm teaching something specific, so I have to give some specific education philosophy to learn the extra knowledge from that particular course. Now, the next part is, when I'm talking about this, the fifth question comes, which test method to be used? Now, when I'm delivering the lecture, after delivering the lecture, I have understood, or I have thinking that yes, the candidate had successfully completed the test. Now I have to evaluate whether he has learned the things properly, or he has to revisit the course to learn the things again. For this, we have to design some goal of testing. We have to design the content for some practice questions, and we can take the type of test by giving them the multiple choice questions. We can give them oral exam, by which we have the benefit of interacting with the students, and whatever point they are not correct, we can correct at the same time. They can make the portfolio, whatever they have learned, they can make the presentation to teach you the topic, whether they have understood the things or not. So this test method is important in the case of blended learning to evaluate the performance of the learner. Now, next question comes, which instruction activities to be included? Instruction activity means how I am imparting that particular blended learning module, in the terms of lectures, in terms of assignments, in terms of simulation or presentation or projects, etc., etc., etc. We can have a PPTs which can be played while student is learning. We can have some PDF uploaded which has the extra knowledge about the things. We can have a group assignments by which he will learn by doing, and it can be done by using simulation as well. So we have to finalize that which instruction activities to be included while designing some blended learning course. Now, when I'm talking about instruction activities, these activities need to be planned, and after that test must be created. How it is created? There is some linear model in which we are dividing the activities in the phases, and we will decide that which activities to be done first, then next till the last. So these activities need to be planned according with the some testing in between. last is designing the perfect mix. We cannot have only the instruction, we cannot have only the test, we cannot have only the activity. For blended learning, for effective blended learning implementation, we must have a perfect mix in which we will combine e-learning and face-to-face simultaneously. Like, as in the face-to-face, we give the instruction. In blended learning, we are giving the instruction. After introduction, the instructions are given. After giving the instructions, there is a try and test module which will ask some questions and take the tests of the learner. After that, we have some practice in the skills lab. We can have the test in between, and finally we can give them the practice in the real situation. Initially we can give them the simulation kind of thing, and later on we can give them some case studies, and we can ask them to work on the real situation. We can give them some examples, we can throw the questions, and we can get the answer. These questions can be based on the real life situation, they can be on the things they have learned in the previous instructions or the introduction modules, and they have the chance for doing this thing to the largest. Now this has conclusive that blended learning is a combination which has face-to-face learning, which has e-learning, which has mobile learning. And whenever I am talking about this, I can say that blended learning is effective on explanation and procedural part. Now the question is that what tools we can use for explanation, for procedural. Blended learning can be made by using, I have something in this, that how we will design the forms, how we can design the test. For this, I am giving you some examples that lecture can be recorded or lecture can be given by some YouTube links. They can be recorded and shared with the students. Then we can design the group assignment in which we have a collaborative learning platforms. We can use Prezi, we can use Canvas, we can have certain questions and we can assign those questions as a subpart to the group to given as a group assignments. Then we can ask them to contribute. They can write on the shared whiteboard. They can have some shared system where as they are doing in the classroom, they have a blackboard. In this we have a whiteboard, and they can write whatever they want. They can raise the question, they can get the answer. They can make the PPT are a good tool to teach. They have the animation, they have the way to include the audio and videos. So when I am talking about presentation, they can be designed in such a way with the accurate animation with the different themes, so that learner can learn in a very efficient manner. They can there will be no stress on them. They are sitting at their place in the easy environment, and they can learn with the examples. And finally we can give them some real-time projects, science projects or anything, by which whatever they have learned they can implement in the real life. For example, suppose I am designing a course on blended learning. In this I am teaching the students to work on a particular website, how they can design the web page or portfolio page for their own visibility on the internet. So in that particular thing, I will use the these 8 things. But what I have told you, I will identify what is the target group. For that, I will identify that these students will be the college level students, and I am targeting to them, and I am assuming that they know what to write in their portfolio. So I am not teaching them what the portfolio is, how it is being made. I will just teach them that you have to put the things in the portfolio using some online tools. Now, what will be the learning goal of the module? I will define the learning goal that after learning the techniques, you are able to design your portfolio on the website. What is the content? I will finalize the content that for designing the portfolio, these tools are to be used. I will teach them each tool in the linear fashion. After each lecture, I will give them multiple choice question to understand whether they have learned the thing or not. Then I will have a set of skills which are being needed. So I will ask them, do you have the knowledge of the website? Do you know what the internet is? I will ask them to understand these things. And finally, I will say that which test method I will use to check that. I will not say directly them, now I have taught you and make the portfolio. No, I will give them some modules. I will say, okay, put your picture on the web page. I will say, draw the small introduction on a web page. Then I will have the some instrumental activities in which I will say that, okay, combine two activities at one. Then likewise, I will take and design the activities, and I will take the tests after completion of the module, in which I will say that you have to design a portfolio or the web page that will have these things, like it has a short a biography of yours, it will have your hobbies, it will have something of your photographs and everything. Now I will take the test and assign them a project. After completion of the module, I will design a project for designing a portfolio, in which I will give them the brief idea that what different components a portfolio can have. And that will be a kind of perfect mix, in which I have given them the introduction, I have given them the instructions for doing the things, I have given them the smaller try and test exercises, I have given them the practice for their work, I have taken some test, I have given some practice in the real life situation. And finally, when I am done, I will launch a final real time project that yes, now you can draw or you can make your portfolio using the techniques which you have learned earlier. Now, after doing that, this portfolio will be evaluated on certain parameters which are used in the real life situations, and the feedback for the same is given to the candidate so that it can improve its skills for the future. In this, the students is capable of understanding that how blended learning for a module can be designed for a particular problem. Now this was the example where I am talking about some portfolio. The similar type of cases can be given to the candidate for the blended learning. It can be a subject which is related to their course curriculum. It can be a additional course. It can be a language course. It can be anything which can be go beyond the classroom, where the student can use its multiple senses to work for. Here, we are combining the methodology which are kept in face-to-face learning. We are using the e-learning techniques. We are using mobile learning techniques. After that, we can ask student to raise the question as they are doing in the classroom. Now this thing can be implemented using different skills, different different philosophies, and finally we can see that whether the students is achieved to have the all things simultaneously to get the learning experience. Now we have to consider everything by the aspect I have discussed earlier in the part of the lecture. This can be done by, and future thing if you want to ask about this can be done in, you can write anything on my book.